guys, welcome to Frank's Tech Help. So today we're going to be taking a look at the full proportion monster truck high speed. This is a model 9115 and it shows 42 kilometers per hour, which is equivalent to roughly 24 or so miles per hour. And give you a look at the back side here. And let's go ahead and unbox this and see what we've got inside. So first off, we have an instruction manual here, and it does show that the truck is the model 9115. It looks like they have a 9116, which is more of a dune buggy style there. So let's continue on our merry little way here. Looks like we've got tape around the outer edge here, so I'm going to go ahead and cut all this open here. So, when we first flip the internal housing over, here's the remote control for this unit. Looks like we have an on and off switch here. And I would imagine the accessory for the steering knob is probably in this other box. A little antenna there. Got throttle control, forward, backwards. And it does look like there's a screw right here that needs to be removed in order to get into that. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this now. Yep, alright, so there we have the inside of this unit. And it does use two AA batteries, so I'm going to go ahead and pop a couple in there. Alright, so flip it on. So it does have the on indicator and it's flashing to indicate that it's not currently connected to anything. So we'll go ahead and set this aside for the moment. And let's go ahead and open the box, because I imagine that's where our steering control will be. Dump everything out here. Alright, so it does look like we have a charging adapter. Unfortunately, it's a European adapter and I'm in the US. And in the bag, I do not see any type of an adapter for the US standards. So be careful when you purchase this, I guess, because you need to make sure that it does have the US adapter, or make sure that you have one on hand. I do have one on hand actually. I'll have to grab it here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and dump out the contents of this little package here and see what we got inside. So here we do have the steering control, which pops into the side of the remote control right there, just like that. Pops in. So now we have the functionality for that. As far as that goes, put this aside for the moment. And it does look like we have a couple of extra gears. I don't know if they have expectations that the gears are going to grind out quickly. They are made of plastic, just so you know there. We do have extra cotter pins for the cover, which is always nice to have because these things fall off fairly frequently. And if you've seen my video on the Dune Thunder 12891, I actually tie little strings on and tape this to the surface of the vehicle so they don't disappear so easily, and they're easy to pop in and back out. So I'm going to put these back in the bag for now. And then you have a little torque wrench, I would imagine for the tires right here on the side, yeah, which pops in to right there on the tires, but we'll get to that here in just a moment. And then of course, last but not least, a screwdriver, which I probably could have used for the side of the remote control right there. Fits perfectly. So let's go ahead and get this stuff out of the way and get the zip ties off of the bottom of the packaging for this vehicle here. And there we have the vehicle itself. Get this junk out of the way here. That out of the way. Alright, so here we have it. The 9115. My first impression, looks pretty cool. Now this is a two-wheel drive vehicle, so you see that the front wheels spin freely as far as that goes. This is strictly a rear wheel drive vehicle. First thing that I noticed right off the bat, it does have the independent suspension system. Not directly connected. The rear differential does not have a shock system, so this is, I think I like this design actually better in general, because in the case of the WL Toys 12428, the rear suspension is built into the shock system, which I don't necessarily agree with, because it seems like, you know, having that drive axle in there is gonna have more like damage to it more easily. So we do have metal, well, I don't know, metal, aluminum, I don't think it's steel, probably aluminum drive axles there, as you can see, and it does have metal springs on the shocks there, and the shock housing itself looks like to be made of plastic as far as that goes. And then the same on the front, you have independent suspension as far as that goes. And let's go ahead and pop the top off of this. Now this does have the isolated, well, I don't know about isolated, but the protective cover on the top of it, and you can see that the cover stands right there where the cotter pins fit in. So let's go ahead and I'll just give you a close-up look of the back end there and the front end, how the shocks are all mounted in. The plastic inside of here actually looks fairly good as far as the thickness of the plastic. In the back it's about the same. If I can get my hand in there and give you a kind of a close-up view of that. It looks fairly stable. Now the overall cover where the top housing sits is a little bit flimsy, a little bit flexible there, but all the base materials look fairly good. So on this one you just flip open the clips here on both sides, and then you pop the center casing off, and inside we have the battery, and I'm going to disconnect the battery here. And on this unit we are using a 16500 with an 800 mAh 9.6 volt battery. If I can get that in focus for you there. And then it just sits, cradles down inside of here and fits straight in like that. And let's see how this fits back on. So it does look like that the battery connector, instead of sitting upright, needs to lay flat, like so. Instead of being upright, it needs to lay flat in order for this top to fit back down on. One thing, let me just point out real quick. The on and off switch is actually inside under this housing, which is kind of a pain. You know, a lot of models, you know, granted it's not as exposed to the elements as some of the other models are, but you do have to remove this housing, which can be kind of a pain in the butt. And then you have your on and off switch right there along with your little antenna. So as you can see, the red light's flashing. So let me go ahead and get a charge on this battery, and then I'll come back and we'll test it out. Turn on the remote. Whoa, holy moly, it just took off on me. So one thing you have to be careful of. So as soon as I hooked it up, oh, here comes my dog. My dog is a freak for these. He loves to chase them around the yard. As soon as he hears one gear up, he's all over it, ready to go. So so it does look like when you put this casing back on, there is kind of a certain direction that follows. You see the little kind of half moon designs that go forward in that direction, so you can kind of tell which direction that goes on. So as I mentioned, this is a 2-wheel drive unit, so I'm going to go ahead and give it some gas here. Alright, so this is running the 390 motor, which is fairly standard for these models. I did do a review on the WL Toys 12428, which has the 540 motor in it, but there's so much weight on that unit that the 540 motor doesn't really do it much good. So the lighter units like this that are just kind of the shell of the model, I think are a lot better design. They push a lot more power. Even though this is a 2-wheel drive, we're going to see what it has in general. And one thing I'll show you on the antenna right here, which is right there, if you can see that. When you go to put the top back on this unit, you can have the antenna protrude up through the top of this right here, so you get a better signal output when you're out in the field playing with it. So go ahead and lock this top back down. So now you see the top of the unit. Well, if I go sideways, you see the antenna sticking out right there. So that's kind of cool. So the next thing I noticed on this vehicle, even though this is two-wheel drive, it does have really big tires. This is a 1/12 scale model class, and I usually compare a lot of the vehicles like the WL Toys 12428 and the Dune Thunder 12891. I usually compare those to the other vehicles that I've used, especially the 12891. So I'm going to grab the 12891 real quick and put it side by side here and do some comparison on the size of the tires. Alright, so here next to it we have the 12 Dune Thunder HBX Kelly-Wow 12891. As you can see, mine is absolutely filthy, dirty. I've broken the tires off. My dogs have flung it around the yard chasing it, and it's absolutely dusty and grungy inside. This thing is a beast though. Once you do a few modifications to it, which you can find in some of my other videos, but putting these two units side by side, you can see that the 1/12 scale, it's about the same. This is a two-wheel drive unit, this is a four-wheel drive unit. But if we put these next to each other, the wheelbase is slightly different. Let me line this up and then I'll show you the difference. So you can see the difference being flat on that side. The wheelbase on the 9115 is a little bit wider. The length of the wheel, well, that's the width of the wheelbase. The length of the wheelbase on the 12891 is longer, as you can see right there, going from front to back. So the tire size, the 9115 tires are much larger. You see the circumference there is larger, and also the width in general right there. So the 12891 drives really well. I can slide it, spin it, do all kinds of stuff with it. I love this vehicle. I highly suggest it. But as far as the 9115 goes, let's go ahead, get the top back on it, get outside, and see what it's got. Alright, for our second test, we're going to do a little driving through the grass here, and let's check it out. Oh, it looks like we're stuck. Alright, so for the third test, we're going to do the straight up and down the street run for straight power, and let's see what we got. Alright, so there we have it. We did the road, or the gravel test, the grass test, and the road test. And I have to say, you know, granted it's wet outside today, so it did a lot of slipping and sliding, and that's because of the straight two-wheel drive on the rear differential there. Man, out of all the vehicles I've reviewed so far, even though it's caused me the most trouble, I think the Dune Thunder is a winner here. Granted, the tires have all broken off. 3 out of 4 of the tires have broken. I've had to replace the rear inner axle, as you can see in one of my previous videos where I did a complete teardown on that. But I put this thing through the ringer. I really do. And it just keeps taking more and more. So, plus it's really fast. This one, in comparison, it's rated at 2 kilometers per hour more. And it's pretty fast in general, driving it down the road. But this right here makes a huge difference. The 2-wheel drive versus the 4-wheel drive. If this had the 4-wheel drive, it would hug better. It would keep straighter down the road. This one likes to spin out a lot. Even on the dry pavement, when you're driving and stuff, because it has all the power in the rear, it wants to spin around a lot. And you can see that in the videos. Now, as far as in the grass goes, not having the 4-wheel drive, once again, is detrimental. The rear-wheel drive on this, it ended up getting stuck in the grass, basically. So, it didn't take long before it got stuck. You know, I always give my honest opinion, and as I said before, if you're looking to get into the market, if you're brand new at this and you're trying to decide which vehicle to go, spend the money and get the Dune Thunder 12891. As I mentioned before, you're going to have issues out of this one. You're going to break the tires off if you play with it really hard. But if you watch my videos, you can see how to solve those problems and how to do the basic repairs and stuff. And once you do the little upgrades, you know, like the screws in the tires are the primary thing to deal with. Once you get past that, this is an awesome vehicle. So on the overall, the design of this one, I do like the fact that it has the metal rods, driving shafts here, as opposed to the plastic, and it does have the lug nut on the outside as opposed to the screw design. It's a model level, entry level model vehicle as far as that goes, because you can replace all of the parts, you can work on it, you can modify it and do all kinds of things. But in my opinion, not having that 4-wheel drive is a pretty huge factor there. Alright guys, so there you have it. It's my review on the Monster Truck 9115, the Wild Challenger Turbo. The full proportion high-speed monster truck 9115, as you can see right there on the front of the manual. I hope this review helped you out in making a decision as far as your purchase and the overall quality of the vehicle and everything. As always, thanks for watching Frank's Tech Help. Peace.